Hey guys, I am here today to do my December part 2 wrap up. Let's, wrap this stuff up and move on. The first thing that I have to talk about is On Cats by Charles Bukowski. This is a short little collection of poetry and various writings. Most of it's poetry about the different cats that he has known, and it was very funny. I feel like if you're a cat fan, it's a good time. If you're a Bukowski fan, it's a good time. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed it. The only thing was it was a little bit repetitive because I feel like they're kind of grouped together, his writings on certain cats. And so it was, he mentioned the same thing about the same cat multiple times because they were different stories about the same cat, if that makes sense. So, again, that's just a thing that happens when you are collecting works by a person and putting them together when they were not originally supposed to be together, because you know what I'm saying. So the next thing that I have is The Amputee's Guide to Sex by Gillian Weiss. This is a poetry collection by a woman who, I think she's just a single amputee. I'm not 100% sure, but this was so good and powerful. I feel like I mentioned this before, but it's kind of like in the same category as like Guilt and Pansy and stuff, where I just feel like I'm not super smart enough, but I feel like this was definitely more accessible than Guilt was. And this one is from Soft Skull Publishing. This is one of the ones that I got at Wordstock. And in general, yeah, I did think this was really good. I will try to link below. She's got a YouTube channel, so I'll try to link that below. But it was definitely very interesting and really good. I like poetry. I just, it's hard for me sometimes to get into it. The next thing that I have is Pnin by Vladimir Nabokov. I finished this in the month of December. This was a holdover from November. And yeah, this was a good time. I feel like, again, I got confused because I've been talking about these books, I feel like, for a long time. But I would not, I didn't even notice that there's a squirrel and a little bird bath or something on the cover. That's cute. But we're following a man named Pnin, Timothy Pnin, who immigrates here, and I forget which one is the word, but he was married to a woman, and then this woman left him for another man, and then it's basically like not a sad man, a man who has bad things happen to him, and it's like very little happens, and there's not like a strong plot per se, but it's just kind of like different interactions that our Professor Professor Pnin has with people. I thought it was super enjoyable, but you have to kind of be into that kind of stuff, like, you know what I'm saying. If you've read him in the past, then you probably would liked him in the past, you would like this book. The next thing that I have is Signs Preceding the End of the World by Yuri Herrera, translated by Lisa Dillman. This one, I was nervous when I started reading it because I know Rincey from Rincey Reads really loves it, and so I was kind of nervous. And when I started reading it, I didn't really not enjoy it that much. Like, I just kind of felt like a little detached from it, but like the more that I read it, oh buddy, this touched me emotionally so much. Even now thinking about like what happens. Oh no. My cat's doing damage. It's just so beautiful. It has to do with like immigration and like, I assume the Mexican immigrant experience, but I feel like it's kind of across the board. Any kind of like Hispanic person coming from the South into the U.S. is looked at a certain way. And I don't know why I just used air quotes there. I forget what I air quoted, but you know what I'm saying. It's a very like specific type of relationship that happens in a very specific type of cultural experience, and it was really moving, and I definitely want to reread this, or definitely read more of Herrera's works, because this was fantastic. The next thing that I have is Loose Women by Sandra Cisneros, and this is a poetry collection, all having to do with like sensuality and sexuality and women's bodies and that kind of stuff. And I thought this was very beautiful, very sensual, not like explicit or anything. Some parts were explicit, but not like in a gross way, if that makes sense. I don't really like reading very explicit things, so this was definitely. I feel like I used the word definitely a lot. Not very graphic, I guess I should say. It was not very graphic, but it did have a lot of like really beautiful, emotional, touching moments, and some moments also that made me laugh, and some moments that made me cry. It had it all. Another good poetry collection here. And then I read Girls at War by Chinua Achebe. This is a short story collection that I also found, like, this, out of this stack, this might be my favorite one. This one and Science Proceeding, The End of the World might be my favorite ones. It started off kind of slow for me, but then the more that I read them, he's so good. I don't even really know, like, what to say about this because it's just a short story collection, so it's kind of hard, but it's just different things and experiences happening, and the Vengeful Creditor, again, was my favorite. I feel like I pointed that out in my vlog, maybe, but it's about a girl who wants to go to school, and so she is kind of taken as, like a nanny type in a rich family, and they say, like, oh, you know, once the youngest boy goes to school, like, you can go to school too, and so she's got that, like, in her head. You know, you can't tell children things because they believe you because they haven't been jaded by reality yet, and they don't know that people lie. So it's a very, very intense story. That one was very good. A bunch of these are just incredible, but that one specifically, like, really, really moved me. Very good. And then I read Chu, Volume 6. We're getting to know Ms. Tony Chu a lot more in this volume, and it's really fun because there's, like, a bunch of different, like, weird abilities that people have, and we keep learning about them, and it's really cool, and I am excited to finish this year, theoretically, as long as I keep going, so we'll see. And then I also read Bitch Planet Triple Feature, Volume 1, or Book 1, or whatever. I think I mentioned this also kind of, like, in my vlog, but this, like, really bummed me out a lot. It's comprised of 5 single issues, and each single issue has 3 stories in it, so it's like 3 short stories per issue. And they're all written and drawn by different people, so they're based on the characters, or based on the world, by DeConnick and Delandro, but by different people. So, like, at the beginning, let me see if I can find an example. It has, like, the 3 different stories, and then the 2 people that are involved in creating that one. All of these were really, really good and, like, just upsetting. Oh, and it's really fun too because they have pictures of people in Bitch Planet cosplay, which is really fun in between. It's like at the end of each single issue. But a lot of these were, like, really, really rough for me. Specifically the last one, which is, you know, well, actually the second to last one, which is about kind of not cultural appropriation, but when, I guess it kind of is. When I think of cultural appropriation, I think of it, like, more in a large sense, but this is when people who are Caucasian are playing non-Caucasian actors on screen. And then there's the last one about a black woman and, like, police brutality and stuff, and it's terrible. But they're all, like, you know. But I would not do what I did. I would read probably, like, 1 a day so that you don't feel like garbage at the end of reading this. I mean, you probably still will, but it won't be so intense because it won't be all at once. And then I read McGlue by Tessa Moshfegh. This I had to warm up to. I did not like this when I started reading it, but the more that I read it, the more I enjoyed it. There are definitely, like, some verbiage that really upset me. I feel like the F word is used a lot, like, with regards to gay people. I think it's that word, which I just hate. Like, I love the word queer, but I hate the F word so much, and that's used a lot in here. And it, you know, usually when things like that are brought up is because there's, like, some kind of, like, deeper psychological situation happening with the character. At least in this instance there is. Yeah? I don't know what you're doing. T? Just say it.
3-letter F word?
The longer version of the 3-letter F word, yes. Is that all?
Yeah.
Okay.
I say the normal F word all the time.
Yeah. No, this is like the, I don't want to say mean. Yes, derogatory. Thank you. The derogatory word for gay people, unfortunately, is used a lot in this book. But I feel like it does kind of, like, take place. I'm not, you know, I don't know. To me, it, like, makes sense with regards to his character, and I don't think she's, like, condoning or saying anything like that. Like, I think it's very specific to this character. I haven't read anything else by her, though, so who knows? But everyone seems to really like Eileen, so hopefully she's an okay lady. So that was kind of, like, a bummer, especially at the beginning. Hearing that was really upsetting. And yeah, but in general, this is really good. We're following, like, a guy who is being accused of murdering his fellow shipmate person, and he is super drunk or hungover or something. And I think that might also be part of the reason why I didn't get along with it, because it's very confusing at the beginning, and I think that's because we're in the character's head. Like I don't know if it was, I don't remember if it is first person. So it's very confusing, but I think that's because he is very drunk. So like as the story gets on, he becomes more and more sober. And so I feel like that is what made it a little bit easier to kind of, understand. Like I'm assuming and hoping that was an intentional choice. Or, sometimes you just have to get into something for a little bit before you can really understand the writing. So yeah, I did think this was good, and I am interested in reading more of her works. And this one is by Fence Books. I got this one at Wordstock as well. And the last one that I have to talk about is Men Explain Things to Me by Rebecca Solnit. I finished this on New Year's Eve. I'm really stupid, and I was reading like an essay a night before bed. These are not happy topics to be reading around Christmas time, guys, especially not right before bed. I feel like I would recommend reading this during the day, or like, not before bed, because it's not like a feel-good, I'm not even really like that feel-good Christmassy type of person, but it was really, really bringing me down. I thought most of these were really good. I did have some favorites, and I did not finish, the only one I didn't finish was Wolf's Darkness, which is an essay about Virginia Woolf. I thought it was very like scholarly and pretentious-y kind of, and I've never read Virginia Woolf, so I didn't have any context for it, and I was like kind of forcing myself to read it, so I just was like, I might as well just skip that one. Cassandra Among the Creeps is really good. All of the ones that have to do with like what you would assume would be in here based on the title. So Men Explain Things to Me, the title essay was very good, of course. I read the one about the IMF on Christmas Eve, which is called Worlds Collide in a Luxury Suite, which is super depressing, but very good. In Praise of the Threat, What Marriage Equality Really Means. That one is so good, and she breaks down like part of the reason why maybe people are opposed to, gay people getting married is because of the term marriage equality has become the thing, and so that's implying that marriage equality, like equal marriage for every people, but also people within the marriage are equals. Like when there's two men in a relationship and two women in a relationship, typically the dynamic between man and wife has been like man and wife, and like the wife is subservient to the man. And so when you have two people of the same gender, then it brings a level of equality between partners. And so that thinking is contrary to what marriage has stood for and has been in the past. And so that might be part of the reason why conservatives are like going against it, which is super, super interesting to me. And like very much, I've gone to a couple of weddings in the recent past, and some of them have been like quite religious. And that is kind of like a really big subtext or like theme of the wedding is like, the man is there to provide for the woman, and the woman is there to be like the, to help the man like succeed. And it's like we should be equals, helping each other succeed and being there for each other. But that's not how everyone sees things. And so I thought that was a fascinating. I'd never even thought of that. So spoiler alert, whatever. I thought this was good. Again, there were some essays that totally blew me away, and then I DNF'd an essay. So not everything's going to be a win. But anyways, I am interested enough in this that I want to read more of her works. So those are all the things that I did. I ended up finishing, I think that was probably like, oh my gosh, Jake's doing dishes, sorry. Like I had 7 in the first one, I had 10 this one, so 17 things total, and one of them was carryover from November. So total pages I read more in the month of December than I read in any other month, and I basically stopped reading like at day 18, day 19. So I think that's really, really good. I'm really pleased. I didn't meet my goal of reading a book every day. I kind of want to give it another go, like maybe during the summer. But it's, I think, like way too unrealistic to try to do that during the holidays when you've got family visiting and when you've got like a lot more on your plate other than just being a human being that's existing. So I wouldn't be opposed to trying it. I'm going to be more focused on like the amount of time that I spend reading as opposed to like specific book numbers. Anyways, you don't care about this. This is a December wrap-up. But yeah, I am really pleased with all that I got accomplished in the month of December. I'm going to post a picture on Instagram of my whole stack of things that I finished. If you don't follow me on Instagram, the link's below. I'm also going to link all the books that I talked about below. I feel like I never say that in any of my videos because I feel like it's implied. But in case you don't know what's implied, I'm going to link all of the books below. and my Goodreads is linked below, and my Instagram is linked below. If for some reason you didn't know that was a thing that people on BookTube link. So yes, oh hello baby, meow meow. Okay, thanks for watching. Ow. I hope you guys had a great December, and I look forward to hopefully binging on some BookTube videos this weekend.